Okay, guys, we are back. And thank you so much for your patience. Brett's going to be coming on the line anytime again. We're going to give this a try. And this is Julie Hamilton with Life Builders, bringing you simple tips to build a strong and healthy life on. And this has been a year for me of trying new things. And as you can see, new things don't always work out perfectly, but we have to keep trying, right? And that's what you're going to see on this video. We tried to take one, and then we tried to take two. There we go. Hey, Mom, my mom's on. I'm meant to be a guest right now. Good morning, Erica. How are you? And so you are going to be so inspired. I don't know if you've met Brett before, but if you're familiar with him, we got a ton of people from Florida, and Brett is one of them. So Erica's on there, and so anyway, I hope you guys are having an awesome Monday. I'm just waiting for it to pop up, just hanging out. Here's some of the things we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about finding the light in the dark situations. Good morning, Sarah. Great to see you. We're going to be talking about finding the light in dark situations. When you're surrounded by darkness, how do you dig out the light from those things? Good morning, Chris. Great to see you. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to pop up. I know Brett said hi, so let's see. Good morning, Aubrey. Let's see if it's working here. Sorry, guys. Thanks for bearing with me for a second here. It says inviting. Hopefully it's inviting. Good morning. Who said good morning? Oh, that's Erica. Good morning, Erica. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. So anyway, we're going to be talking about finding the light in the darkness. We're going to be talking about transitions. When I first met Brett 7 years ago, he was a wedding and corporate photographer. Hey, there you are, buddy.
Hello. I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful.
Good. Thank you so much for bearing with us and trying this new thing.
Oh, of course, of course. I want to share. Let me see here. Oh, it's okay. I'll share it after. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I was just telling them, so when I first met you 7 years ago, I think it was, at TSE in Phoenix, like that was a long time.
Yes, that was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Brett was a wedding and corporate videographer or filmmaker, I would say, for that. But he's transitioned now, and now he's an inspirational speaker and creating these inspirational documentaries. And I'm hoping you could talk a little bit about that today, like your transition creatively and all of that. Good morning, Mom. I say my mom's saying good morning. That's my mom. So, Brett, tell us about yourself. Take a couple minutes to tell us all about you and what you do right now and who you are.
Yeah, so, as you shared, I mean, I am at my heart a storyteller, and I'm a filmmaker, which has been what I've spent the past 20 years of my life doing. And, as I lived my life working in weddings and events and working with not-for-profits and corporations, I was daily seeing the power of story and how stories change us and affect us. And a few years ago, I had the idea to make a feature-length documentary, something I had never done before. And it was an incredible experience making the film and crowdfunding it and getting all the help from wonderful people all over the world who supported that film, Legends of the Night. And when that film was done, we decided, you spend 3 years of your life creating something, and then you got to figure out what you want to do with it, which is kind of a weird experience, right? And so when the film was done, I decided that we would do this unique charity initiative. I worked with a distributor that allowed anyone to request a screening of the film in their local movie theater with the proceeds going to the charity of their choice. And, we didn't know whether that would work, whether it would be successful, whether or not anyone would care. But what was amazing was that they did. They joined us in that adventure. And by the time that initiative was done, Legends of the Night had screened in 110 cities all over the world, raising $100,000 for charity off people buying $10 tickets to their local movie theater. Yes. And it was such an amazing experience that I felt strongly that we needed to continue that initiative forward. And so, I've spent the past 3 years finishing a brand new documentary film called Look to the Sky. And we're so excited. That film had its world premiere in April of this year. And this new film tells the stories. We can talk more in depth about it, but it's related to, the last film was related to Batman. This film is related to Superman and the stories of young people. And so we're super excited. We're doing the exact same initiative we did before, and we have just loved seeing people like you engage and get excited about it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. We went to see Legends of the Night in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and we didn't bring it to Napa, but this time we're bringing it to Napa. We're bringing Look to the Sky to Napa and San Francisco. So super happy. My mom said, I love storytellers. They are so rare and gifted. That's so true. It's such a gift to tell a story with the world. And so one of the questions I have for you, this is just about you, but who would you say, as a storyteller or as a person, who would you say is one of your biggest influences throughout your life?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's so funny because there are so many different ways to talk about that. And what's so interesting is that as I think about that question, I would say that the people who have been my biggest influences weren't actually filmmakers. They were storytellers in other types of genres.
Yeah.
So, or in other ways, I mean,
Yeah.
I watched my dad, for example. He is not an artistic, creative type guy. He would not consider himself to be a creative. And yet he is a person who is engaged with people so deeply and engaged with people's stories and really cared about their stories. And
I
so,
love your dad.
yeah, my dad's the greatest. And
He
so,
is.
he is a great storyteller, not as an artist, but in the real world. And,
Nice.
I grew up, as a very moody teenager. I mean, people are surprised when I tell them that I was so moody as a teenager and kind of depressed and sad. And if you went to high school with me, you know what I'm talking about. And so, I loved music by like Morrissey and The Cure and
Yes.
these groups and bands and musicians that told strange, weird stories that were not your typical kind of thing. And so I was drawn to that medium of storytelling. And then I discovered Joseph Campbell when I was in high school, and he is really the guy academically that started talking about myth and comparing all the religions and myths and finding the stories in them. And so that really kind of set me on a unique path of loving story and storytelling. So I don't know if that's the best answer to your question, but it's the one I have
love
today.
it. No, I love it. Somebody asked me that question the other day, and I was like, I think my mom. If they say, "Oh, you're just like your mom," I'm like, "Thank you. My mom is amazing."
Right.
I just feel the same way about your dad. He's so cool. But I'll have to look up Joseph Campbell. I'm not familiar with that person, so I'll have to check that out and find out. But
do it. Look up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look up what?
I would say, he has a book called The Power of Myth, which was an interview that he did with Bill Moyer, and it's very interesting. His most famous book is called The Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Oh, okay, awesome. You guys get that in your notes? I'll have to check that out. All right, so one of the things that I was dying to ask you about is that I think that you really have this gift, and I want to see how the rest of us could learn to have this gift and pull it out of our lives. But when I see the films that you make, particularly Legends of the Night, you went into some hard places. You went into children who were struggling with cancer, or people who were in really dark places, overcoming dark odds. And I love the fact that you have this ability to search, like it's almost like you sift through the darkness like you're mining gold, and then you pick out the nugget that is the light of that story. And it's got to be hard as the filmmaker to go to those dark places but have the resiliency to bring that up to the light. And how tell me about that. Like, tell me about that process, how you do that, how we can do that.
Yeah, so, here's the interesting thing. I mean, this new film, Look to the Sky, is about hope. At its core, that's what the film is about. I was really intrigued by that concept because hope is a word that we use all the time. We use it you see it in television commercials, we use it in religious settings, you hear it in politics. But, when I ask people, tell me in, one sentence or two sentences, define hope. What is hope? most people can't define it. You know, it's this kind of nebulous sort of concept. And so this film was really an exploration of hope, in terms of what it is. And we can talk about that more later if you want to, in terms of how I define it after spending 3 years working on this film.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
But
curious.
but I do think that at the end of the day, you know, when we talk about these things about hopefulness and optimism versus, you know, negativity or cynicism, you know, I think our inclination is to say that optimism or hope is about only looking at the positive and not looking at the negative. So saying we're not going to view things in a negative way, we're going to view them in a positive way. We're not going to view it with cynicism, we're going to view it with hope. I don't really think that is the best definition of hope or optimism. I think what realistic, you know, as people say, you know, I'm not optimistic, I'm not pessimistic, I'm realistic. I think the best way to look at the world is not to try to choose one way or the other and ignore the rest. I think what we have to do is look at the world exactly as it is and see, you know, the beauty and the ugly, the struggle and the triumph. You know, we have to acknowledge in a very authentic, real way, here are our lives. And there are glorious things that happen, and there are terrible, horrible things that happen.
Yeah.
And I think what hope does is hope looks at all of that. And then it says, I see it, I acknowledge it, I accept it on some level, even I embrace it on some level, but now I will go on a mission for the light. I will now lift up and choose the light. I will go seek it. I will go bring more of it. I will choose it in my life. So I think to try to ignore one or the other leads us to places ultimately that we kind of collapse. We can't live that way.
Right.
But I think ultimately you look at all of it and then you choose hope. You choose light. You choose beauty. You choose joy and peace and all those fruits that are the wonderful things that can come out of us. But you have to choose them after you've seen it all. And until you're willing to open up and embrace and really go deep into it, you can't see it. So the process of making a film like this, people would say, oh, you make all these uplifting films. You must be happy all the time. And the truth is, no. I mean, there's a lot of this that's discouraging, that's ugly, that, you know, there's stories in this film about bullying and a child dying and people's life at risk and, you know, struggles and homelessness and, you know, all kinds of things. And yet, once you acknowledge it, you have to then choose the light.
Yes, I love it. Well, I was thinking this morning how any great artist, whether it's a painter, photographer, videographer, whatever, it's like contrast is part of what makes the picture beautiful.
Yeah.
You know? And you have to recognize that and you have to appreciate that. And even in our own lives, it's so true. It's like when I've been through so many hard things, you know, I just have to keep telling myself, if I never went through those hard things, I might not appreciate the good times that I go through as much.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's sweet. Damien's in Vegas. He said, love you, Brett, and I love you more, my love.
Good. I'm glad he loves you more. It would have been very uncomfortable if that had gone the other way.
That's true. I love you more, Brett. Nice, Julie. But okay, so I wanted to ask you, tell me, okay, about so what did you find as the definition of hope? You said you could talk about that. What did you find? Sure.
You know, I mean, hope is such an interesting thing. And I think it's a word that, again, like I said before, we have confusion about what hope is. You know, a couple of years ago, I was interviewing, I was working on a project for naval aviation. It was the 100th year of naval aviation, you know, when they fly the jets off the, you know, aircraft carriers out in the ocean. And you know, I was interviewing an aviator, and he said in the interview, a soundbite, hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. And what he meant by that, which I agree with, is we cannot just get into our jets and fly out there and say, well, I sure hope this works out.
Right.
You can't do that. You have to plan, and I totally agree with that. And I think when you define hope in a certain way, you have to acknowledge that is the case. However, that said, I think there is another vision of hope, and it is the vision that we talk about most of the time when we think about hope. And so for me, the word hope has become synonymous or interchangeable with the word possibility.
Oh,
Possibility.
okay.
Hope is
Okay.
about possibility. It's about, as we talked about, it's about looking at what is. It's about acknowledging what is right now in this moment and where it is, and not burying our heads in the sand, but acknowledging here's where we are, but then saying, but I can imagine, I can see what's possible. I can see something more. Now, different ones of us have different sources of that hope. Some people look to spirituality or, our faith, and we say, because of my faith, I believe that this is possible, even though it doesn't exist today. Some people look to politics that way. They say, well, this doesn't exist today, but because of this person, if we elect this person or pass this legislation, then this will be possible for us. I believe in the possibility of it. And you could go through all kinds of different things that create that sense of possibility. But at the end of the day, that's what hope is. It's acknowledging the present, but looking forward and believing there's something good ahead. And I think what's really interesting about hope that I think most of us miss is that there are many people that say, well, I've been through so many terrible things, or I look at the news every day, and because of that, I am hopeless. The reality is that hope has nothing to do with what's happened in the past or what's happening today.
Wow,
In
that's
your
good.
in your own life or in the world around you. It has nothing to do with that. Hope is a concept, it's a construct, it's a perspective that lives in your heart and in your mind and in your spirit that allows you to come into the world with a choice that looks ahead to the future
Yes.
with belief that something good is ahead, that something good is coming, that
Come
something
on.
good is out there for you. And that's what hope is. And so I think that is why at the end of the day, hope is unstoppable. Hope is the unmovable thing. Hope is the thing that lasts even when the world seems to be filled with ugliness and destruction, because hope is beyond all of the circumstances. Hope is something that you bring to the world. It's not something that the world brings to you. And I think when you can bring that thing, when you can bring hope, when you can bring that sense of possibility, when you can walk into the darkness and say, okay, I'm not going to go around it. I'm not going to try to go over it or under it. I'm going to go through it. And in the process of being in the darkness, I'm going to try to transform it. I'm going to try to bring light to it. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to try to bring light into the middle of it. When you can bring that, which you can only do with a sense of possibility, with a sense that it can be transformed. If you can do that, then you have the most powerful force in the world. You are unstoppable. You cannot be defeated because you will always see the possibility. And that's powerful.
Wow.
That's transformative.
I've heard, so many people say, he who has the most hope has the most influence. And
Yes.
it just lines up exactly with what you're saying. And I love
Yeah.
that nobody can take that from you, but you can give it out. I preach it. Come on.
Yes. Well, and
Good
that's really, when you watch Look to the Sky, this new movie, that's what you're going to see. What you're going to see is that in every single one of these stories, at the beginning of the story, there was always a reason. There was always a circumstance to say, you know what? This story's done. It's over. It's finished. The ending is written. We're already done here. And yet, by the time you reach the end of each one of these stories that are in Look to the Sky, you're like, wait a second. There is instead a way of seeing the world that allows for change and for growth and for uncovering something new. But you as an individual and we as societies and communities, we have to choose hope first. We cannot
Yes.
wait for the world to say, here is a reason to hope. Because if you
Wow.
do that, there will always be a reason to see the despair instead. We have to choose hope and possibility first, and then walk with that into the darkness so that we can transform it.
Oh, I love that. It like just hits me right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Period. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the film because I want everybody to come see it. It's showing in Napa August 29th. It's a
Yeah.
Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. at Century Theaters. You guys all know where it is. It's the only movie theater, so it's not hard for that one. And it's going to be going for one night only. You have to come and get your tickets online. You could go to risinghero.org. And I'm just saying that because now I'm going to ask the questions. The tickets are $11 a piece, and all the proceeds are going to Boys and Girls Club of Napa Valley. So even if you can't come, would you guys please go buy a ticket? We got to sell 70 tickets. So anyway, but
Yeah.
this is what I'm dying to know about the film, Brett, is was there one story that you can share with us about the film that impacted you most deeply or inspired that hope most deeply? Or like, what's the one story that really impacted you the most in making the film?
You know, that's an impossible question. And
I
it's
know,
it's
I know,
it's like saying to someone, which child is your favorite? You know,
I
it's
know,
like
I gotta
impossible.
ask.
It's impossible. But here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. First, let me answer that question two ways.
Yes.
First of all, I think each one of the stories in this film, and Randall Drayton just commented, he is one of the stories in the film. And I
Oh
think
my God. Wow.
yeah, and I think Emery Benson joined the conversation. Emery's also in the film. So see now, Julie, I have to be very careful what I say because these
Oh,
people who are in the film are
of
actually
course.
on the call.
Of
So
course.
so here's what I'll say. I'll say that every single story in this film illuminated that sense of hope in a slightly different way. And that
Okay.
was intentional because each one of them kind of, you know, we're kind of showing a different aspect of what hope is. You know, that sense of possibility or that sense of change or the sense of power that we have within us. I will say this, though, when you watch the film, that when we did the world premiere, I felt very strongly that there was a little girl who's in the movie. Her name is Violet. And
Oh,
I
I've seen
felt,
her
yeah, I
in the
felt
pic-
strongly that we needed to fly her in to be at the world premiere. And she did
Oh,
come and join us at that. And here's what I'll say about that. It's not so much that her story is more dynamic than anyone else's in the film because there are 10 incredible stories in this film. But I will say that being around Violet is like being around a force of nature. Like it's like you're living kind of
nice.
in her beautiful whirlwind when you're with her because she's this little 5-year-old kid, and yet what she says so naturally, so beautifully with her heart, is it's a reminder to me of the goodness and innocence that I think all of us still have within us that we've kind of lost track of.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know, and so when you see her story in the film, it's the fourth story in the film, you know, it will touch you. I mean, I can just say, I mean, you know, you have to be like a Sith Lord not to be touched by Violet's story. You know,
Oh,
all these stories are that way, but Violet's that way. And I think the reason it's so touching is because when you watch it, you see something of yourself in there, of a part
mm,
of yourself, that innocence, that compassion, that kindness, that purity
wow.
that I think we all know on some level is still in there, but we have let the world steal it from us. And I
Wow.
think spending, you know, 6 minutes, 7 minutes with Violet in the film kind of reminds you the where your heart goes as you experience that with her. it reminds you that it's still there, that you haven't lost it. And I think that, so I think for me, that's powerful. But again, that's just, it's a heartwarming experience. But again, one of my favorite questions at when people have seen the film and I talk to them after, or they send me a message on social media or an email, is I say, well, what was your favorite story in the film? Which one touched you? And the thing that's so interesting is that it's across the board.
I bet.
I showed the film to them at a middle school a couple of weeks ago. And, after it was over, I asked them their question. And as we went around the room, I mean, we hit all 10 stories. And it was for different reasons. So it's really tough to try to talk about that because they're all beautiful. Anyway, it's my long answer to your short question.
That would be hard. Well, and I think it's so interesting how kids, and I know that you, with your children, your boys, you guys have gone through a lot. And I've been kicked in the butt recently by the faith of my kids.
Yes.
I was just being real cynical the other day, and my daughter, she's 10. Every time we go to the pool, she gets in the cannonball contest. Every time.
Yes,
and there's kids that are big, and they're, the judges score and everything. And, the other day, I guess it was Friday, I was just like, when is she going to stop entering the cannonball contest knowing that all of these big kids are going to score way better than her? And I was just like, why do you keep signing up for this? And guess what? She got second place.
That's right. That's right.
It's like, oh man, I need that faith, like a child, to just believe and go for it. I mean, kids teach so much, about life. I know your kids have taught you a lot about life and living too. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Sarah said, I love this project. I do understand a bit of how you feel as you document these stories, because I have done some similar work as far as sharing stories to encourage healing and hope through my own outlet. I just want to thank you for providing a place for people to share their stories. It's through these stories where shame is broken and people can experience healing. I love that, Sarah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
She does something called Perfectly Imperfect, where she takes these pictures, but they're more like bare pictures of people. They are able to find healing in them and stuff. Is really cool. So
and I think that every single one of the stories in this film, Look to the Sky, there is a vulnerability to it. I mean, there is a nice. I'm not interested in telling stories that are 100%. Oh, I was amazing. I was a champion. All that stuff. There has to be that moment in each of these stories of the vulnerability and the weakness. And, that's the hope. It's funny because I was thinking about this the other day. We live in a world of social media where people are posting all the time these amazing things in their life. And we tend to look at that and compare ourselves and say, oh man, I'm not as pretty as this person, or my life isn't as glamorous, or I'm not traveling, to all the places they're traveling to, or having these experiences that other people are. So we compare ourselves. And I was thinking about that the other day, and how social media can kind of beat up on us and make us feel ashamed of our own lives and guilty about whether or not we've accomplished enough in our lives, or whether or not our children are beautiful enough, or whatever it is. I was thinking about, do I do that in my films? Like, when you watch a film like this and you see these 10 inspiring people, are people walking away going, well, I'm not that good. I didn't swim for 26 hours to go across Lake Ontario to raise $200,000 for a cancer, camp for kids with cancer. And, as I was thinking about that, I said to my wife, I said, do my films do that? By telling these amazing stories, am I making people feel bad? And she said, no. And this is my hope, what she said, deep down in my core, this is always my heart, is that what we're doing is we're giving people inspiration. We're showing them, just as we talked about hope at its core, hope is synonymous with the word possibility, that my goal is to show people this is what's possible. This is what can happen. So don't feel bad that at 42 years old, you haven't accomplished what this little kid did at 12 years old. Don't feel
Yes.
bad about that. Instead, look at that and say, well, if that 12-year-old kid could do that, what could I do? What's
Yes.
possible for my life? What could I do in the world? And I think when we can start looking at the world and looking at each other's stories, not from a place of comparison, but from a place of possibility,
Yeah, come on.
then there's great power in us sharing our stories with each other on social media. So when I see someone accomplish something great, I can cheer them on without feeling bad about it, because I can
Yes.
say, well, look, it's not about me being bad and them being good. It's about the fact that I have something out there for me that's good, just like they do. And that allows me a space to celebrate with them.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that point up. It's so good. I don't think anybody feels that way when they walk away from your films. They mostly feel like
Oh,
inspired, and that's where I'm hoping to show it. That's what I want
yeah.
for our community is I want the kids to go, and I want them to go like, if that kid can do it, I can do it too. Or the adult
Yes.
just say, if that kid can do it, I can do this. And whatever's in their heart, I want it to just come alive with possibility, and that's
Yes.
what I'm
Yes.
hoping will happen to our community through this film. But, well, let me wrap up with just a couple questions. I have no idea what time it is. Do you know what time it is?
Let's see. It
I
looks
don't even
like
know.
I'm on the East Coast in Tampa. It's 12:06 my time.
Oh,
So
all right.
we've
So
only been talking about 35 minutes.
okay, good. I could talk like about this all day, but the one of the questions I would love to ask you is, I know personally that you've gone through a lot of transitions with your career and arts and
Yeah.
forms and stuff over the last years. And what I would love for you to do is think about where you were like 7, 10 years ago. And I remember you telling a story about how you had the video thing with the tabs and, they would pull up. And I would love for you to share with our viewers that maybe in that same place where you were. And I would love to know, what would you say to them? What would you have said to yourself 7 to 10 years ago, looking back?
Yeah, so in summary, I'll go deeper. But in
Okay.
summary, what I would say is trust the process. Trust the process. That's what I wish if I had a time machine and I could have gone back 10 years, I would have said to myself, trust the process of your life. And so here's what I mean by that. There are some people who are like intention people. And what I mean by that is, like, if you read a book like The Secret or a lot of other new age self-help type books, what they'll say to you is, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to get a clear picture of exactly what you want and exactly what you're going to do and what you want to accomplish, and then put all of your energy behind making that happen. And some people work really well that way. Like, some people nail that. Like my cousin Matt, he nails that. Like, I'll walk into a room with him and he'll be like, I want to meet these 12 people. And by the time he's left that conference, he has met those 12 people, has their business cards, and they have lunch scheduled. I mean, that's his way. And he has to work that way because that is his energy. His energy is intention. I beat myself up for a long time in my life and my career because that never seemed to work for me. And here's what I realized is that my energy is not intention. My energy is flow. It's flow. So whereas my cousin Matt, his energy is like climbing a mountain. He sees that space at the top and he is going to climb up to it till he reaches that summit. I'm like a dude sitting in a river on a raft. and I have to paddle and do my part in that process. And I have to keep moving down the river, and I have to keep, putting on the suntan lotion and keep moving my paddle and keep going and keep streaming. But my process is, my energy is to put myself out there in the world all the time. Who I am, what is in my heart, and believe that when I do that, the flow of life, the flow of God, the flow of the universe, it always leads me down the stream to the places where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, come on.
to the people that I'm supposed to be with, to the events and experiences I'm supposed to have. And there's some people that look at that and they say, well, that's not how my life works. I have to plan it. I have to strategize it. I have to go after it. You bet. Go for it. That's your energy.
Yeah.
I've beat myself up my whole life with that. And even over the past couple of years, what I'm learning is that I'm flow. So there are days like with Legends of the Night, when I was doing Legends of the Night and I said, I spent 3 years of my life working on that film. And then I said, and now what we're going to do is put it out, you know, so people can do charity screenings of it all over the world. And we did it in 110 cities and raised $100,000 for charity in the process. And the main thing people asked me in that process, particularly people whose energy was intention, they would say, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point? What is the end game? What are you trying to achieve? And my answer was essentially, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where this is headed. I don't know what we're going to accomplish. I don't know where this is going. But I know this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, come on.
And I have to then learn to trust the process, that the river is taking me in its flow to the place where I am supposed to be. And that for me, and I think for every creative person in the world, is really hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, where that led me, where Legends of the Night has led me, that what ultimately was a 4-year journey with that film, to raise the money for that film, to make the film, to then share the film in these charity screenings, to have it then end up on Netflix for 2 years, to, you know, all the things that came out of that, I couldn't have anticipated them. And frankly, the reason why I'm so in love with flow today, why I'm so in love with flow rather than intention, is because I realize today, and I'll just say it bluntly this way, I'm too stupid to know what I want. I'm too stupid to know what's best for me.
Come on.
And what I mean by that is not really that I'm stupid. I'm not beating myself up. It's that nearly every dream I've had in my life was always too small.
Yeah,
It was always never big enough, never glorious enough, never beautiful enough. And yet when I have allowed the flow to take over, the river of my life, when I put myself out into the world fully, without reservation, without fear, without agenda, without so much focus on the tactics and the strategy, that's always when I have ended up in the best places, the places that brought me the most joy, the places where my talents and abilities really connected with what the world needed in that moment. So for me, then coming back, it's about what I wish I could have said to myself 10 years ago was trust the process, stop being so anxious about it, be willing to let go a little bit, and trust that there are beautiful things in you that the world needs, and your job is just to show up and share them.
Wow.
Stop feeling the pressure of all the results and particularly the short-term measurements. Live the long game, build the legacy, and don't worry, don't be surprised when 6 months from now you're not where you wanted to be or where you anticipated being, but know with great confidence and faith that when you look back 10 years from now, you will have walked an amazing path. And so don't worry about the short-term gains as much and the tactics and strategies that go along with it. Instead, invest for the long term in your life, knowing that the process of doing that will lead you to glorious places.
How can I follow up with that? That was incredible, Brett. I feel like everything you said could have just been like the most amazing meme in the world.
You know, I had a tough time condensing myself to memes. So, you know, it's tough. In fact, what's next for me is last week I launched or 2 weeks ago I launched a video on my new Facebook page. I just launched a new Facebook page for Brett Culp, which I just have more in me that I need to share that has been helpful to me. And so over the next few weeks, over the next months, I'm going to be sharing a lot more videos.
Oh, so can you repeat that? Because my phone rang and it's paused for me for a second. You said you opened
Oh,
a new
sure,
Facebook page
sure.
called what?
So yeah, I mean, 2 weeks ago, I shared a brand new video on my essentially my Brett Culp
Oh,
page. This is my
I
profile I'm here on.
yeah.
And I'm going to be doing that a lot more, sharing these kind of longer 8 to 10 minute, 12-minute videos that kind of go deeper into some of these principles. And I'm excited to share those. I'm excited to do them. I felt like that's been bubbling up in me for a while. So
Was it that one about just beginning where you are?
yes, yes.
Okay, I
So
just
yeah, yeah.
my friend literally tagged me in it, like messaged me that video and said, "Julie, this is for us." I love
Good.
that's so awesome. Come on.
Good. Well, and what's been amazing is I did that first one here in my office and in my studio here in Tampa, Florida, but I travel so much. And
Yeah.
what I'm actually doing is as I travel, I'm going to be filming more of these videos in those locations. So,
Nice.
my next video that's coming out tomorrow, I filmed it in Garden of the Gods in Colorado in this gorgeous, amazing setting. And then, I've got travel coming up to, I'll be in Nantucket this week. I'll be in Orlando next week. I'll be in Charlotte in 2 weeks. I'll be for all these projects that I'm working on. And so everywhere I go, I'm going to be filming these little videos that I'm going to be putting out, all of these kind of messages. And I'm really excited about it. Everyone will either enjoy it more or be sick of me over the next few weeks. We'll see what happens.
I know what you mean. I love it so much. Well, thank you for sharing your heart with us. I just want to honor you and just honor all that you do. You speak into my life all the time. When you just put up like a few words on Facebook or Instagram, it really speaks into my life and helps me move to the next level of just being that trust and that vulnerability of just putting out there who you are and
Yes.
you're talking about the flow and so I really honor you for that and thank you for your time, your talents, your wisdom, your gifts and all that you bring to the world. Just sharing this film with our community, it's a huge deal. And so I just really thank you for all that you're doing, all that you've done. I love reading the positive comments about you and meeting your dad. And
Yeah.
but thank you for your time this morning. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our viewers?
Yeah, let me share a couple of things. The first thing is that if you look at my dad's Facebook profile, his Facebook profile is a picture that your husband took. So
really?
of the two of us, of me and him at an event, I think it was that Phoenix event. So if you look at Ed Culp's Facebook picture, it is that picture from, I don't know how long ago, 5 years ago. And just as a disclaimer, I think I was about 15 pounds heavier when that picture was taken than I am now. So there's also this amazing picture of me and Sasha Souza where she's like doing my cheeks and I look like just, anyway, it's not a flattering picture of me. And I hope that picture like disappears forever. So anyway, that said, here's what I want people to know. So as you said, and we kind of implied, this initiative we did with Legends of the Night that I mentioned, this charity initiative, it's going on right now with Look to the Sky. So essentially, you can go, which Julie has done. So I want to talk about your screening for a second too. But what you're part of right now is this amazingly wonderful thing that I'm watching people all over the country do with our film, where you can go to our website. It's risinghero.org, risinghero.org. And you can actually request a screening of our new film, Look to the Sky, in your local movie theater. It's completely turnkey. You just fill out a form, and our distributor is called Tug. Tug puts together everything for you. You give them the date. You put in your zip code. They pull up all the theaters in your area, and you pick the theater. You give them a couple of dates to work with. They set the whole thing up. But what has to happen? There's no fee at all for you to request the screening, but because there's no fee, for the theater to know that some people are actually going to show up for the screening, you have to sell a minimum number of tickets within a week of the screening. So right now, my buddy Julie here, she has requested a screening for her community in Napa, and she has to sell, how many tickets is it, Julie?
I have to sell 70 more tickets.
Yes, 70 more tickets. They're $11 tickets. She has to sell those, but within a week of the screening, and they have to be
20%.
pre-ordered. Yeah, they
Yes.
have to be pre-ordered in advance. You can't just go buy them at the door. You have to buy them in advance. So what you need to do right now, and Julie is going to post this in the comments for us as soon as this broadcast is done.
Yes, ma'am.
She's going to post a direct link to that page in Napa, that screening in Napa. And what you need to do right now is click that link and go to that page, reserve your tickets, buy them, pre-order them, because if she doesn't sell those 70 tickets, then the screening is going to be canceled. It's not going to happen. And that Boys and Girls Club there, it's Boys and Girls Club, you said?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Boys and Girls Club there is not going to receive the proceeds from that screening. It's just not going to happen. So if you're like, oh yeah, Julie, I'm totally in, I'll be there. If you're in, that means go right now and buy your tickets to support Julie in this effort, because if you don't, the screening won't happen. You have to do it in advance. And if you are like, well, I don't know if we can go, our family of four may not be able to be there that night. Who cares? The tickets are $11. The proceeds benefit the Boys and Girls Club. Buy the tickets. And then if you can't use them, give them away. Give them to Julie. She'll find some people. She knows 4 people that she can give those tickets to. So just go ahead and do it. And pitch in and make that screening happen so that the community can benefit from that in a positive way. So how was that, Julie? Was that okay?
That's perfect. Thank you.
She did not tell me to do that, by the way, but I just knew it needed to be done.
Yeah, it did, and you're so much good. You're good at it. I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it. And you've been doing this a lot, so I love it. That was perfect. And then tell us how we can find you, also.
Yeah. So, Culp. It's like you're fizzling out on me.
Oh,
okay, so you can go to my. You back? It's okay.
Yes.
You can go to my website. It's brettculp.com. That's BRETTCULP.com. So you can go there and learn all about me, and the links to all my social media is there. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, and I don't do Snapchat because I haven't figured it out yet, but at some point I probably will. But I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere else, and I would love to connect with you and love for you to follow along. And I'm posting positive stuff pretty much every day.
Yes, you are. Well, thank you so much, Brett. I know you probably have a busy day ahead of you, but thank you for taking the time to meet with us and share with us. And I hope everybody's inspired. I'm inspired and encouraged, and I just appreciate it. And you're awesome. I love you. So
thanks so much. Thanks for inviting me, Julie. I love you guys too. You're an awesome family, and I love being connected with you.
Oh, thank you. All right. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
You too. Bye.